Emily had always kept her life meticulously organized, especially when it came to her son Liam's health. At just 8 years old, Liam had already endured more hospital visits than most people see in a lifetime. His rare heart condition meant he relied on a special medication that arrived by courier every month without fail. It wasn't optional, it was life-saving. Emily's biggest fear was missing a dose, so she arranged her schedule carefully to be home on delivery days. But on this particular Tuesday, work had run late, and the courier's tracking app showed the package had already been delivered to her porch. Her heart pounded as she pulled into the driveway. The familiar brown parcel with the bright red "Refrigerate" immediately sticker was nowhere to be seen. She froze for a moment, scanning the steps, the welcome mat, even the bushes, hoping maybe the driver had tucked it somewhere safe. But the porch was empty. Panic rising, she darted inside, checking to see if maybe the package had been left by the door or slipped inside by a neighbor. Nothing. Emily's hand shook as she opened her phone and pulled up the doorbell camera feed. She scrolled past hours of quiet footage until her breath caught. There, at 2:43 p.m., a familiar figure appeared. It was Barbara, the HOA president, her trademark oversized sun hat casting a shadow over her face. She bent down, scooped up the package, glanced around briefly, and then walked away briskly toward the HOA office at the end of the street. Emily couldn't believe what she was seeing. Barbara hadn't even knocked or left a note. She'd simply taken the medication. Emily dialed her number immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried the HOA office, but no one answered there either. Each passing minute felt heavier, more dangerous. Liam's next dose was due in the evening, and without it, there could be severe consequences. By the time Liam wandered into the kitchen asking what was for dinner, Emily was doing her best to mask her anxiety. She smiled and told him everything was fine, but her mind was already racing. Why had Barbara taken the package? Did she know what it was? And most importantly, how quickly could she get it back? Emily didn't have the answers yet, but one thing was certain. She wasn't going to let anyone jeopardize her son's health. Not even the most powerful woman in the neighborhood. Do you want me to now expand Chapter 2 in the same detailed, emotional style so the tension keeps building? Emily finally managed to get through to Barbara the next morning. Her tone was cold and clipped, as if Emily were some unruly child who needed scolding rather than a mother in distress. "I have your package," Barbara announced without even a greeting. "You left it sitting on your porch, and as per HOA regulations, packages are not to be left unattended. It's unsightly and could attract thieves. I secured it in the HOA office for safekeeping." Emily gripped the phone tighter, trying to keep her voice steady. "Barbara, that package contains my son's heart medication. It needs to be refrigerated immediately. He can't miss a dose. This isn't about porch clutter, it's about his health." There was a long pause, followed by a dismissive sigh. "Well, our office hours are from 10 to noon, Monday through Thursday. You can collect it then. Rules are rules, Emily." Emily's stomach dropped. Today was Wednesday, and she had to work during those exact hours. "Barbara, I can come right now," she pressed. "Please, just unlock the door for 5 minutes." "I'm not making special exceptions," Barbara replied firmly. "It's not my fault you weren't home." And with that, she ended the call. Emily drove to the HOA office anyway, her pulse racing. The small brick building sat at the corner of the subdivision, the blinds drawn tight. She banged on the door, rang the bell, even called Barbara again. Nothing. The place was locked up tight. Each minute wasted here was another minute Liam was without the medication he needed. In desperation, Emily called the pharmacy, explaining the situation. The pharmacist told her they could issue an emergency dose, but her insurance wouldn't cover it since the original prescription had already been filled. The cost over $400 was a punch to the gut, but Emily didn't hesitate. She paid and drove home, clutching the small white bag as though it were made of gold. When she got back, Liam was curled up on the couch, pale and tired. She knelt beside him, giving him his dose and stroking his hair, fury simmering in her chest. The HOA wasn't just being petty, they were putting her son's life in danger. And as Emily sat there, watching Liam slowly regain his color, she knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Do you want me to move ahead with Chapter 3 in the same intense, building conflict style so it flows seamlessly for your YouTube audience? By the next morning, Emily's patience had worn razor thin. She'd spent the night replaying every detail in her mind the moment Barbara snatched the package, the smug tone on the phone, the locked office door. Liam was stable for now thanks to the emergency dose, but that medication wasn't meant to be a backup plan. She needed the original shipment, and she needed it now. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, typing an email to the entire HOA. Bored. The words came fast, sharp, and fueled by righteous anger. She laid everything out. The doorbell footage of Barbara taking the package without permission, the documented medical necessity of the medication, the refusal to return it outside of narrow office hours, and the cost she'd been forced to pay to keep her son safe. She demanded the immediate return of the medication, an apology, and reimbursement for her expenses, or she'd take legal action. Less than 2 hours later, an email pinged in her inbox. She opened it, expecting a begrudging concession. Instead, her eyes widened. The HOA's official response accused her of harassment of HOA leadership and failure to maintain a clutter-free porch. Attached was a formal notice of violation along with a $250 fine. Emily could barely breathe. Not only had they stolen her son's life-saving medication, but now they were fining her for daring to speak up. She printed the email, her hands trembling, not with fear this time, but with resolve. She began gathering every shred of evidence she could find. The high-resolution doorbell footage, the timestamps from the courier's tracking app, her phone log showing repeated unanswered calls to Barbara, the emergency pharmacy receipt still warm from her purse, and most importantly, a signed letter from Liam's cardiologist detailing the seriousness of his condition and the necessity of immediate medication access. As she slid the papers into a neat folder, a strange calm settled over her. The HOA might have been used to intimidating residents into silence, but they'd chosen the wrong person this time. Emily wasn't just a mother, she was a fighter when it came to Liam's safety. By that afternoon, she was sitting in a lawyer's office, sliding the folder across his desk. "I want to file a lawsuit," she said plainly, "and I want them to answer for every single thing they've done." The attorney leaned back, scanning the documents. A slow smile spread across his face. "Oh," he said, "this is going to be interesting. Do you want me to make Chapter 4 explosive, with a dramatic courtroom scene that really delivers on the title's promise?" The courtroom was quiet except for the shuffle of papers and the faint hum of the ceiling fan. Emily sat at the plaintiff's table, her hands folded tightly in her lap, the folder of evidence resting like a shield before her. Across the aisle, Barbara lounged in her seat, chin high, her pearl necklace gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She looked as if she expected this to be nothing more than a formality, a minor inconvenience before she went back to ruling the HOA with an iron fist. When the judge entered, everyone rose. He was a tall, stern man with silver hair and a voice that carried authority without effort. After the opening statements, Emily's lawyer played the doorbell footage on a large monitor for the court to see. Barbara's figure appeared on screen, clearly taking the package and walking away without so much as a knock. The timestamp matched the delivery records perfectly. Barbara's attorney tried to spin it, "Your Honor," he began smoothly, "my client was merely enforcing HOA policy to prevent theft." The package was left in plain sight. The judge held up a hand. This package contained prescription medication for a child with a documented medical condition. "Are you telling me that your client thought it appropriate to remove and withhold life-saving medicine because of a cosmetic HOA rule?" Barbara shifted in her seat. "Well, it looks suspicious," she said, forcing a tight smile. "I was protecting the neighborhood." The judge's eyebrows shot up. "By locking it away and refusing to return it when the mother explained it was urgently needed, that is not protecting anyone. That is recklessness bordering on cruelty." The room was silent except for the judge's pen-scratching notes. Then he delivered his verdict. The HOA was ordered to return the medication immediately, reimburse Emily for the emergency pharmacy bill, pay her legal fees, and compensate her with an additional $5,000 for emotional distress. Barbara herself was stripped of her role as HOA president. Effective immediately. As the gavel came down, Emily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She glanced at Barbara, whose smug expression had evaporated into something tight and pale. Walking out of the courthouse, Emily called Liam. "It's over," she told him, smiling for the first time in days. "We won." For once, justice had come swiftly, and it had landed exactly where it belonged.